For tens of thousands of years, wood and charcoal were the most widely used fuels for cooking and heating. That situation still exists in the Third World, where the majority of the people cannot afford electric or gas stoves. In Zambia, some 4,000 families depend on charcoal burning for income. The government attempted to control deforestation, but charcoal burners overall follow traditional ways to make charcoal. The savanna woodland is an open forest type, and trees have to be cut over a fairly large area to make the clamp, the term used for the wood structure covered with turf for charcoal burning. The forest cut over will regenerate within 25 years, so the process could be repeated in the same areas. The tools required for the burner are a homemade traditional axe and a shovel. The axe is of mild steel and could be sharpened easily. It is preferred over the manufactured types and appears to work well in the hand of the experts. Most charcoal burners work in small groups, generally not over 6 persons, and the money received for the charcoal will be divided according to custom. Children are not employed as the work demands considerable power and endurance. The clamp constructed will be one of the two types. Here they have begun to work on a round clamp, which may be up to 15 feet in diameter. The decision on the size is based by several factors agreed upon by the man. The construction does not appear to be complicated, but to build it the right way requires experience for best results. Even then, perhaps 15% or more of the clamps are not well built, and the yield will be correspondingly rather low. In doing research in the African bush, it is necessary to use an interpreter. Joseph, the one I had, appears on the right, and he was a very capable, speaking good English and 9 native languages out of the 39 or so used in Zambia. An example of a large circular clamp. The logs cut are laid in the proper order, smaller ones on the bottom, larger ones in the middle, and then a cover of branches topped by heavy slabs of turf cut at the side. Sometimes a layer of grass is placed below the turf. Another example of a large circular clamp with the turf being applied visible on the left. A clamp this large will require the labor of 4 to 6 men and will take 10 to 12 days to construct, working all day. Some clamps have a double wall of turf. All the wood used for charcoal burning is hardwood. After cutting it, it is not left to dry. When enough wood has been cut, the building of the clamp will begin. Occasionally, a few large logs are placed in the middle of the clamp, but remarkably, in a properly burning clamp, all the wood will be reduced to charcoal to the expected amount and quality. Long clamps, the type seen here, appear to be more popular, the decision made by the group for whatever reasons. In size, they will range from 12 feet or so up to 40 feet, or even more, most likely if the burners got an order for some dealer who will take it by truck to some town or city. As always, the quality of stacking will differ among the clamps. The ones seen here are about the average. Many times there are no persons around to ask questions. They may be off for whatever reasons, perhaps drinking beer, a popular pastime after the hard work. The clamps here are the largest ones I had ever seen in over 6 months of research in the bush. The worker, like most of them, are friendly, and I attempted to pick up the log he was carrying, but it proved to be far too heavy. One should also remember that the temperature is about 80 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies, not the average environment for Europeans. Here a large, long clamp is being covered by turf, and that will take about 3 days for several men. The bicycle is owned by some of the burners, but the terrain and lack of road makes travel slow and difficult. Another illustration of a long clamp being covered with the hole to start the clamp burning visible between the two men. It is always on the windward side, and in spite the wood being fresh cut, a slight draft will carry the fire inward, assisted by some small openings made on the bottom of the clamp on the opposite side. A round clamp nearly fully covered by turf, with the opening for the fire visible at the bottom left. Generally, when a clamp is covered by turf, it will be fired without delay. The charcoal burners have a very limited income, and the sooner the charcoal is ready for the market, the better. In this illustration, the burner attempts to adjust the speed of the burning by adding more turf to the clamp. Proper burning is all important, though for whatever reason, seemingly less than half of the clamps are neither built the best way nor are burnt in the most efficient manner. Of course, a partial collapse of the turf cover during burning may also be the cause, hence attendance of the clamp is important. This photo shows a well-built clamp with proper turf covering just before firing. The hole to start the fire is visible in the left side of the clamp. Proper burning time will take about 10 days. Actual weather conditions have little influence on burning, but at the height of the rainy season, no clamps will be built for 2 months or so. A properly burning clamp like this one will emit very little smoke, even if the fire has advanced well into the middle. If the burning is producing much smoke, tamping down the turf cover with a shovel is important. If the smoke is less than here, then a few holes should be made in the turf cover on the side opposite the firing hole with the handle of the shovel. This clamp had no charcoal burner around and is an illustration of sloppy building and lack of burning control. Why some people do not care of their work properly is a question which better not be asked, and in any case the reasons offered may not be the ones expected. The person here is facing a total loss of charcoal due to improper burning, though the clamp appears to have been properly built. He was a fisherman, not a member of the local tribe, and apparently did not ask or receive the required information about proper burning technique. The result is about 3 weeks of heavy, hot and hard work with no rewards. While the building of the clamps and the control of the burning is done entirely by the man, after opening the clamp, the dusty, dirty task of sorting out and eventually bagging the charcoal is the general duty of the women. After the clamp is opened, it is necessary to wait a few days so the charcoal will cool down. Occasional rain will do no harm. The bagged charcoal has to wait for transport. Meanwhile, the people stay around and wait. There is little else they can do, and time, unlike here, has no meaning of urgency in the bush unless something drastic happens. This large pile of bags will be picked up and transported by a truck. which inevitably will have some difficulty driving in a terrain where proper roads are non-existent, and traveling a distance of 10 miles or so may take well over an hour. Transport by bicycle is done by many burners, but it is easier said than done. At the time of my research, the government has imported large number of cheap bicycles from China with the remarkable brand name Flying Pigeon. Being overloaded by the rider and several bags of charcoal, the rough roads grounded the pigeons in a short time, even with the necessary repairs going on all the times. The large majority of burners live in temporary villages built from local materials and may even plant a little plot to raise some vegetables. But in general, the villages would be abandoned after 2 or 3 years, and the cleared area will regenerate the typical savanna cover, obliterating signs of former occupancy. Enterprising young men may establish temporary camps adjacent to the camps, but the facilities are greatly different from that expected at the average United States campsite. Water is a major problem, and the women have to haul it, often from a mile or more away. Then it is kept in rusty containers. As one would expect, medical facilities are totally absent, so many burners have great scars and poorly healed wounds. The charcoal market in towns has 2 major variants. The ones where the merchants and the more affluent purchase charcoal, generally by the bag, are reasonably well maintained. A bag of charcoal in 1972 costs about $4 to $6 depending on size. The native market is characteristically unkempt, and the local people may purchase only 1 or 2 good handfuls of charcoal, remarkably lower quality, for about 50 cents. Most people in the extensive shanty towns around Lusaka, the capital of Zambia, cook only once a day, then survive on leftovers and are often hungry, a way of life for the poor. The charcoal stoves are made by local craftsmen out of sheet metal, and with a strip of iron plate on top, work reasonably well to heat the pots. Meals in general are maize or millet mush, with all types of greens added. The average adult African, excepting the top 10% or so, eats only about 20 pounds of meat a year, compared to 150 pounds in the United States. And due to custom, men eat first and women and children afterwards. Using wood or charcoal for cooking in Zambia and in other parts of impoverished Africa will persist, promoted by large-scale migration to the cities in hope of bettering the standard of living.